The girl who disappeared after a midnight phone call. Nobody warned Sarah, Chen, that the last normal moment of her life would be something as forgettable as washing dishes, warm water over her hands, a TV murmuring in the background, the quiet safety of an ordinary Tuesday night. She had just dried her hands and reached for her phone to set her morning alarm when the screen lit up. 12 a.m., not a second early, not a second late, as if whatever was calling had been waiting for the exact moment. One day died and the next hadn't yet been born. Asterisk unknown number. Asterisk. She stared through 3 full rings. Something in her chest, not fear exactly, but the shadow fear casts before it arrives, told her to let it ring out. She almost did. She answered anyway. 4 seconds of silence so complete it felt intentional. Then breathing. Slow, deliberate, lips pressed too close to the microphone. And then a voice, low and almost gentle, rising out of that breathing like something surfacing from deep water. Asterisk, I found you. Asterisk. 7 seconds. Then nothing. Sarah stood in her kitchen telling herself it was a wrong number. She checked her door, locked. Her windows, latched. She even opened her closet, feeling ridiculous, and found only shoes and winter coats. She made tea. She sat on the couch. She convinced herself she was fine. By 12:31 a.m. she was in bed, eyes closed, listening to the building settle around her until her body finally believed what her mind was insisting. At 12:47 a.m., her neighbor, Margaret, was ripped awake by a sound she would spend years trying to forget. Not a startled scream, she told police. Not surprise. It sounded like someone who had just understood something terrible. Like the scream had been building for years and had only just escaped. It lasted less than 2 seconds and stopped so completely. Margaret questioned if she dreamed it. She hadn't. She called 911. Officers arrived at 12:58 a.m. The door was locked. When they got inside, the apartment was undisturbed with an almost deliberate perfection. Bed made. Kitchen light on. Tea mug washed and upside down on the rack. Laptop open. Screensaver drifting. Keys on the hook. Shoes lined neatly by the bed. Everything exactly where it should be. Except Sarah. Her phone was on the floor beside the nightstand. Screen cracked in one clean line. Face down. Placed there rather than dropped. The call log showed the midnight call. But below it, something that made the detective read it twice. An outgoing call to her mother, made at 12:43 a.m. 14 seconds long. Sarah's mother Linda hadn't heard it ring. The voicemail sat on her phone like something left on a doorstep in the dark. When she played it with the detective present, she listened 4 times because her mind refused to process it on the first. 13 seconds of quiet, exhausted crying. The kind that comes after fear has already finished its work. And then, in the final second, barely a breath. Asterisk, he was already inside. Asterisk. That was the last confirmed recording of Sarah Chen's voice. The hallway camera told the rest. At 12:41 a.m., Sarah's door opened. She walked out in pajamas, barefoot, moving at a slow and even pace. She turned and looked directly into the camera lens. And this was the detail that made the lead detective, Roy Marsh, sit down in a chair and stare at the wall for a long time. She wasn't afraid. There was no panic, no urgency. Her face was completely, utterly blank, not the blankness of someone sleepwalking, but the blankness of someone from whom something essential had been carefully removed. She walked to the stairwell, pushed the door open, and stepped through. At 12:41 and 9 seconds, the camera went to static. 9 full seconds. From a camera that had run without interruption for 4 years. When the image returned, the hallway was empty and the stairwell door was closed. Sarah was gone. 6 weeks of investigation led nowhere. But one thread snagged. The midnight call traced back through 3 layers of routing to a prepaid phone that had been logged in a police evidence locker and destroyed in a facility fire 14 months earlier. The phone had belonged to Daniel Voss, a man who had stalked Sarah for over a year, filed against twice, finally taken into custody, and dead of a cardiac event in holding. 18 months before his phone called her at midnight. Roy Marsh requested a transfer shortly after. He has never spoken about the case publicly. When a journalist reached him years later, he said only, "There are cases you carry, and cases that carry you." Then he hung up. Linda Chen still pays Sarah's phone bill every month. She keeps the account active, updates the card when it expires, makes sure it never lapses. She says she is waiting. She says that sometimes, very late at night, her phone rings. No caller ID. When she answers, she hears breathing, slow and close, and underneath it, something that sounds like a room she has never been inside. The calls last between 4 and 9 seconds, and in the final moment before the line always goes dead, Linda hears something she has told almost no one. Not crying, not a warning whispered in the dark. She hears Sarah laughing. Some disappearances make sense, slow erosions, traceable sadness, the math of a life that came undone. And then there are the others, the ones that leave the coffee warm and the shoes by the bed, the ones where the camera simply stops, and when it starts again, the world has one fewer person in it and no idea where they went. Those cases don't get solved. They get filed. They get carried home by detectives who stop sleeping well. And somewhere beyond the edge of ordinary life, something continues, still breathing, still calling, waiting for someone to pick up and say hello.